man. So if anybody remembers this time, yo. So we just warming up, man. We're gonna let our post our other social media so they know what time it is. Make sure that they know we tapping in. Hey man, this is early, man. This is the pregame right here, y'all. We jammed off some Carl Thomas, man. We taking it back to when we was actually cracking, man. So if anybody remembers this time, yo. So we just warming up, man. We're gonna let our post our other social media so they know what time it is. Make sure that they know we tapping in. Hey man, this is early, man. This is the pregame right here, y'all. I got too many echoes cracking right now, so I think I shared that with you guys, man. We'll go ahead and get back to what we was doing, tapping in, man. So hopefully you guys are doing well. It is a beautiful day. We'll start at 6. We're just feeling good, man. It's a summer day in LA, man. Hopefully you guys are feeling the same, man. Carl Thomas still bumps, man. Don't get it twisted, brother. Y'all ain't up on Carl Thomas, man. You better get up on Carl Thomas, man. But yes, sir, man. We're live. The new episode is out, so make sure you guys check that out, man. It is titled What to Do When You Have to Do Something Else, a.k.a. The Pivot, man. So you got to pivot, man, sometimes, man, and sometimes it's not the most comfortable thing, man. And I think that, let's talking about some strategies, putting our heads together and coming up with strategies in order to execute in spite of, because a lot of times these detours that we do experience aren't necessarily there to stop us. They're there to maybe perhaps even give us another option or another path, right? So let's see if these are going to start. They should. It started early, but it's okay. You guys are here with me. But yeah, man, sometimes you got to do detours. And one thing about me driving in LA, man, I drive that bus around. So if you haven't seen me in the city, man, make sure you guys take a picture and tap in and get you a free tour, man. That's one of the things that we have. Right now, you can't see it on the back because we have our sponsors in place. But that's one of the things that we do. And I will start to promote that a little bit more heavily. Check us out, catch us in traffic, tag us, tweet us, Instagram us, and then going from there. So right now, but I'm representing my other brand today, which is Hair Livery. And I wanted to just start off talking to you guys about something that I went live on my Facebook on that was kind of interesting. And one of the things that shout out to Natalie Goucher, she does consulting, she does business consulting, social media, sales training, the whole nine. She's amazing. And she does public speaking. So if you guys need a speaker, holler at her. But at nataliegoucher.com, and it's spelled Gouch, and the E that makes it look French. That is actually French. It's like an A. Anyways, you guys know the apostrophe over the E. Anyhow, look her up, Google her if you guys need her for a speaker. She's amazing. But she was talking about how we need to actually, we need to get in control of our Google business, and we can add Black owned to it, which was amazing. I didn't even know you could actually do that. So shout out to her. I was thoroughly impressed with that, and I made those immediate changes. And actually on the Hair Livery one, I actually added my mom, so it's woman ran. I don't run it. I don't do anything but follow orders and go on deliveries, and that's about it. But all that being said, sporting that today, giving a shout out. So we're doing really well with the hair, and you need to update your business listing, because if you don't update your business listing, haters can talk to other people and say that it's closed. It could be all this riffraff and nonsense. So let me just make sure I'm on there too. Okay, perfect. Live now. Let's see. Just making sure my stuff is where it's supposed to be. Okay. All right. So you guys can hear me there, so I don't need to keep yelling at you guys. But yeah, man. So what you need to do, what I did. Let me get away from that, because this is one thing I'm trying to do with advice is I'm trying to stay neutral, not force it upon anyone, because it's my own experience, right? I can't force my experiences on you to make the assumption that you're going to have the same experience I did based on my advice. And that's selfish and that's egotistical, you know what I mean? And I shouldn't necessarily make that assumption about you guys, right? So with that being said, Let me turn this down. Oh no, turn that down a little bit. With that being said, you need to claim your business listing and you need to be able to control that. These are 3 things that I share with my personal Facebook group. You need to, one, go ahead and make that update, but you can't make that update if you don't control your listing. So I'm encouraging everyone that if you haven't got your listing together, meaning your Yelp or your business, your Google business profile listing. And what that means is if you have a business, your family member has a business, auntie, uncle, cousins, whoever has a business, they need to list it on Google. Even if it's not a physical location, you can still list it on Google as long as you get mail somewhere. They just want to know that there's some type of business address. And if you have a business address, it could be your home address. You can use that as well. So try that out, list that. And then once you do that, you can start corresponding with that account. So you can set up an account and be attached to your Gmail account. You can upload pictures, put specials. People can book. If you have services that require booking, you can do all that stuff online, 100% free. And it helps in your Google search too. So when people Google search you, your Google business listing is going to come up on the right-hand side along with your reviews, your pictures, and anything else that you wanted to add in terms of time, special dates, all that good stuff. So I just wanted to get that advice starting off before we actually get into what we're going to talk about, which is the pivot, right? Which is what to do when you have to do something else. So I'll be talking a little bit about, what we talked about in the episode, but I encourage you guys to go over there and take a listen to that episode because it really, really is important that we understand what to do when we have a detour. The same thing happens when you have a detour in life or in general, right? Or when you're driving. Let's just use driving, for example. When you have a detour with your driving, you look at your GPS, and a lot of times, unless you're using Waze or something like that, the Google won't update you of the detour. So you got to figure it out. You got to follow other signs and you got to go around. One of the things that's beneficial about the detours is the simple fact that it allows you to go a place that you've never been before, that you had no intention on going. A lot of times when you run into a detour, you have to go a roundabout way. You have to take a road that you've never taken before. A lot of times it may even be a longer road, right? But what are the benefits to a detour? You get to see new places. You get time to think, right? Because a lot of times we make a lot rash decisions or brash decisions to where we move really quick on things rather than actually thinking them through. I just saw the term in my students. It's called thin slicing, where we take just the most salient pieces away from something and make a decision based on that. And a lot of times it's not in our best interest that the decision actually goes through. So a lot of times when we get pulled away, that's God trying to tell us that this isn't the right thing for you. You shouldn't necessarily be doing this, right? When you think about it, when you're in the moment or you're about to make a decision, say for instance, you get $1 million, hit the lottery. First thing people want to buy is, I'm gonna buy this $40 million house or this big giant ass house. And first thing you need to do is look how long it's been on the market. It's been on the market for 4 years because people aren't necessarily buying those large houses like that. There's not necessarily a person that's taking advantage of a lot of that big space. Most of the time, for the most part, it's another person that's wealthy that pretty much wants to carve out their own form of real estate. So it's hard to sell those houses. But that's the first thing that we do. And then we go buy this big, giant, expensive car that's going to draw this attention. As opposed to saying, what were the essential things that I wanted to do with my life, right? What did I strive for before this lottery hit? Because this is very well, what can happen. A lot of times we can get these surprise things. And if we're not prepared, we make a decision. We don't think them through. And, we might have to get a detour or we might get blocked. And a lot of times and it used to happen to me a lot of times when I would get money or whatever the case may be, I want to go buy something in the store, be about to close, or they wouldn't have my size, or, and it was always why? And it was teaching me how to be patient and make a better and not an emotional decision, right? A lot of these things that you see at the grocery store in the aisles right when you get about to check out are impulse buys. And a lot of times we do things out of impulse, out of group think. There's a lot of different faults involved. So we got to think things through. And a lot of times when we get detoured or we don't get exactly what we wanted, we get down on ourselves and we get frustrated. But it is in those times, I promise you this, it's in those times that's where you're going to discover your greatness. Just because you got rejected. I got rejected, I don't know how many times. When I came out of college, I was recruited by Pepsi, Target, who else was it? Time Warner, few of these places. And once they did a background check, they denied me. So I was kind of pissed about that. And I tried to hold on to the letters. I don't know what happened to those letters. They may come up somewhere, somehow, but they're going to be part of my success story, because you have to use these things as fuel, right? You hear about the chips on the shoulders of a lot of NFL players, Tom Brady, drafted late. All these guys drafted in third, fourth round, right? They want to come and prove to the world that you made a mistake on me. And a lot of times that's what happens with us, right? I didn't get into the school I wanted to. Man, I didn't get the car I wanted to, or whatever the case may be. You didn't get exactly what you wanted, so you had to do a detour. You had to have a pivot. And if it wasn't necessarily a pivot of a physical nature, it was a pivot of a mindset. You had to change your mindset to adapt. One of the things that we've had to do with this COVID things, we had to adapt. We've had to pivot because things aren't necessarily the way that they used to be. So a lot of plans that we had, we're not able to execute. If you wanted to do a certain thing that was in a physical nature, it's not the same right now. You wanted to furnish your apartment and do this, and it's not the same right now. You can't get what you wanted to get. IKEA's got lines out the door. So these require mental pivots or mental shifts in order for us to adapt and still keep our mental sanity. Because a lot of times what happens is if you get rejected or you perceive the rejection as being fatal, you'll quit. You'll stop trying. And that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to elevate this. And we got to realize that obstacles and detours are part of the game. Who's had an easy route? If you look at our president, he's had an easy route and he's still miserable and he's got the quote unquote best job in the world and he's still unhappy. So you can tell that that's not necessarily the key to life. I've talked to you guys about the tribes in the past who have uprooted every 30 years because a utopian lifestyle is not a lifestyle worth living, right? Something that's easy life. Oh man, this is easy. Kickback. Doesn't matter much, right? You got to have some meaning. You got to have some substance, right? To really that life really matters. But for the most part, all of us want to make life easier and easier, and it's getting easier. But it's those roadblocks, it's those detours, it's those pivots, it's those things that ultimately develop our character, because we learn how to do more with less. And you guys have heard me talk about that in the past with Tony Shea, how to do more with less, right? We've been able to do that, especially those who have been behind walls, those who are watching this behind walls. You know, you can do more with less. We've been built in that. You don't have much. You got a radio, you got this, you can create whatever you want to in there. You guys damn near create shrimp dinners and shit. I've seen it happen. You know what I'm saying? So I know the creativity. I know the level of ingenious or I can't pronounce the name, but you guys know what I'm talking about. I can't stress the amount of that, right? That's important for us to tap into that, because if it's easy, what are we going to require thinking? Nothing's going to require thought, right? That's why they tell you don't watch TV, because it doesn't require much thinking. You're just watching. But reading requires thinking. It requires interpretation. It requires, looking inside. Having that. I can't think of the word I was looking for, but it requires you to go internal and look at things, intrinsic, right? Go inside of yourself. But watching things doesn't necessarily do that. So when you think about it, you're like, oh, okay, what am I actually doing? Well, it depends how you look at it, right? In the podcast, I talk about Charles Swindoll's quote where he talks about how life is 90% of how you respond to it and only 10% of what happens to you. And when you put that in perspective and you think about it, right, you want to look for these things because you know a blessing's coming right afterwards. God's testing me right now. And if you look at that and you just switch your perspective to look at it and say, all I got to do is pivot. I may not have to pivot physically, but I may have to pivot mentally. Just pivot slightly and look at it just a little bit different, right? Oh, I didn't get this, right? I can't teach right now. So I just came up with my second year teaching at one of my schools, the third year at the other one. So now I got 3 years experience teaching, but I'd rather be doing this. And I realized, okay, I can't do it like that. I got to take steps backwards, right? I want to go get my PhD. Well, I got to get a better GMAT score. My last GMAT score was to get in grad school, and grad school was 6 years ago. And they don't take it that much longer. So I got to go get a better and stronger score. So I had to take it back to foundational math, because all that I kind of just flew out the window, right? Because if you don't use, it's kind of like Spanish. If you don't use it, it'll go away. So I'm taking it back to Khan Academy, right? And I'll show you guys. This is the deal with me. I'm not going to just talk it. I'm gonna share with you guys. Matter of fact, hold up. Let me see. Just be patient with me. I'm just trying to pull it up so you guys can see where I'm at. I can show you guys, like, you know, what my plan is, so that you guys don't think I'm BSing, because I can't stand a cat that just talk that talk and not necessarily not necessarily walking the walk. So I want to not only show you guys what I'm up to, but let me show you what I'm up to so you can see it. So you can see that you can start this at any time in life, man. It doesn't matter. Humble yourself. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be like that. So if you look at it, I'm in algebra expressions. I think I 100% mastered linear equations, and I've 100% that. Somebody just left. It's all good. It's all love. You guys like whatever. Doesn't matter. And this is what I'm doing for my homeboys. So if you don't feel it, I can understand. But let me show you guys. So this is just, I'm in graphing lines and slopes, system of equations, and then I'm moving to probability, statistics and probability. So I'll be going each one of these. And basically what it does is it gives you a video course, and then it actually tests you, and you master your keys. So I got a 74% master. So I'm almost done with that section. And you just go through each one. So next I'm going with grammar, because they do have a grammar section in the GMAT. And these are things that I'm just improving on, man. I had to do a slight pivot. I wanted to do something a certain way. It didn't work out that way. So what do? I go back and get better. What is the point of this, and what is the benefit? It's not only going to help me, it's going to help my kids. So when's the last time you guys done some algebraic equations? I'll wait. Exactly. And a lot of times we don't think about that until we get their homework, and we like, man, this teacher's tripping, right? The teacher's tripping. The teacher, man, how's she going to send? Well, we need to sharpen our tools, man, especially if they got free tools like this to where you can sharpen your tools. So this is what I'm up to. I spend a lot of time doing this. When I'm sitting in my garage, I got mad scratch paper everywhere. Just humbling myself, starting over, dog. Like many of us need to. Khan Academy is 100% free. 100% free. And if you want to start with the basics, you can start with the basics. It doesn't matter. This doesn't have to be no advanced stuff. And it can be between you and your computer. Because a lot of times what we're afraid of is facing people when we had this grand dream or goal. We don't want to tell anybody that we couldn't do it, that we had to start over again, that we had to do something from scratch all over again. We don't want to tell people that. We want to make it seem like it's just been flawless. I just executed. Nah, man, I looked at that GMAT math and was like, man, this looks like a foreign language to me. And I took the GMAT before, but I realized that I had to start from scratch all over again and humble myself. And that's what I'm doing. So the pivot, it was humbling. Yeah, sure. 100%. But I'm going to get better. I'll be better with it, right? So that's Khan Academy, man. You guys need to check it out, dog. It's 100% free. This stuff is crazy. And let me show you guys something else. Hold on. I'm sorry. No, never mind. I ain't gonna show that to you guys. But yeah, so that's relatively easy. That's my mentors listing. I can show you guys. Yeah, so this is the back end of what I was talking about too. How you guys need to manage your profile. So this shows you all the reviews, how you can answer them, you can reply to them, you can manage your locations, you can look at your business and just look at the profile. That's mentor, so you can go to that one, and then this is where you can add that you're a Black-owned business. This is where you can add post. You can look at reviews. You can add bookings, so you can sign up for bookings if you want to do that on here. So it's a lot of stuff that you guys can do, man, that I encourage you guys to check out, man. So let me stop sharing this. All right, so I'm back. Yeah, so that's what I've been up to. So that's what required me to pivot. That was one of the things that I had to pivot for school. So I had to learn a lot of different things that way, man. Outside of that, the other thing that I had to pivot on was my workout. The gym is closed now. So what I'm going to do now is I'm doing more push-ups. I'm doing more bar work because I needed to do bar work. Now that's pretty much all I can do. So I went and got some gloves so I don't light my hands up, but back to the bar work because that's what I was doing in the pen when there wasn't no gym and they took the weights. We started getting on that bar. And that's the thing that we need to do. We need to go back to that, right? You break us down to our bare bones, it's not going to matter because everything that we have is mental. Not physical, not material. That stuff comes, goes, gets old, gets dusty, gets crusty, and breaks. But not us and not our mentalities, right? So we need to work on our mental muscles. How do we continue to grow those? What can we do? If you're confined to space, right? What's the gentleman in that was in Auschwitz I can't think of his name. Oh, if anybody out there remembers his name, and it just came to me, it just came past and as a man thinketh. Is that no? Is it as a man thinketh? Something like that, where there was a guy in camp, and he mentally went through this thing because the Jewish people were getting murdered and executed, and it was just crazy in Germany. And he was in the camp, and he had to take his mind mentally out of where he was. And a lot of times we have to do that, right? Because everything, I would say probably 99% of everything is mental. How you respond to it, not what happens to you, because especially coming from Black people, stuff been happening to us forever, and we still got to keep these mentalities to where our kids feel like they have the world at their feet, right? We have to still hold that same mentality, and it shows also how when we pivot and when we adjust, they watch. How do they handle that? Did they break down? Did they go into a depression? Did they go into their room and cry and fold, right? Probably not. And if you show kids that, this is the way to handle it. No, I don't handle it. I get right on it. I get right on top of it. You pivot. You make the adjustment, right? You pivot slightly. If I can't do this, look at a lot of the people that are closing right now. It's because they couldn't pivot. They couldn't make the adjustment. They had all their eggs in one basket. My sole business is tied to this physical location and this landlord. I didn't start to think about how to branch my business off to create these e-commerce opportunities or these online opportunities. And when you miss those balls, right, things like this happen. You're not prepared. You can't keep up. You can't catch up. So a lot of the hair companies that we were competing with that had physical locations, it didn't matter anymore. Not now. So now we're moving on to different things. So now we're starting to dabble into more toupees now. So we're talking about the hair company, but more toupees. We're doing different things now because we're comfortable in this lane. We didn't want a storefront anyways. We come to people. So how are you guys pivoting? Right? How is it working for you guys? Tap in, talk to me. I'll talk back. But how's it working for you guys? How's the pivot? Are you guys pivoting? Are you adjusting? Are you folding? Right? If a certain job isn't working, what else can you do? Right? If chefs can't work, what do? You create your own menu. You create meals. What's the idea? You know what I'm saying? That's the key right there. Is trying to figure out what's my next and best move. It's like chess. You got to think 2 moves ahead. Okay, not necessarily thinking pessimistically. Now, this is what I don't want you guys to do. Is think worst case scenario. Think like Plan B, because sometimes Plan A just needs a little bit more oomph. Right? It doesn't necessarily mean that you need to retreat. It means maybe just a little bit more effort, right? Maybe just a little bit more. So don't necessarily retreat and don't necessarily always look at our Plan B. But be liquid and fluid enough to where you, like Bruce Lee said, you're like water. You can adapt and adjust. Nothing breaks you, right? So if they change this, if they change that, then it's not going to put you out of business. It's not going to stop you from functioning. One of the things that I recommended in the podcast episode was writing it down, using it as fuel. You got to write this stuff down. because it's once in a lifetime things that are meant for you. It's part of your test, it's part of your lessons, right? God always gives you the test before he gives you the lessons. So make sure you write the lessons down. It's important that you write them down. You may think you're writing negative stuff. No, but what you're also going to put in there when you write in your journal, what happened is how you handled it at the same time. What was your response to it? How did you mediate? How did you get that together? How did you get through it? Right? How did you persevere? These are the things that you're going to use. And when you go back and you have a similar situation or similar circumstance, you're going to have a resources to look to see how you got through it. It may not be the exact same thing, but it may be something where it took your breath away just as well. And you were able to bounce back on or what you perceived as being an impossible situation. So it's important for you to write these and document these things, because everyone's not documenting your history. No one cares, but you should, because you use it as fuel, you use it as documentation, and ultimately you use it as your success story when you're talking about your legacy, everything you went through, right? Because nobody's going to remember the story like you. You're not even going to remember the story like, damn, I went through that. Yeah, and if you didn't document it, you would have no idea that you did. So it's important. And I'd say not only important, but ultimately critical that you make sure that you document everything that you're doing, everything, how you responded, how you got angry. Because a lot of times when you don't have anybody to talk to, aka a mentor, your journal is going to be your best friend. It's going to be the thing that listens to you, listens to your every move, gives you feedback. You're thinking you can't get feedback. You can get feedback from your journal. A lot of times it doesn't say anything, but you come to the consensus because you're talking to yourself. And sometimes those are the best conversations that you can have because they're unbiased. They know you the best. So something that you should really, really consider when you guys are thinking about, how do I pivot? Well, first, talk yourself through it. Think about everything that you've done. One of the things that I did when I was in personal selling class is that they had us do a resume, 25-page resume of everything that we've done in life, everything, right? So when we think about that, everything we've done in life, I've done this, I was a paper boy, and you start to think about everything and all your experiences. And you don't lack experiences, you lack documentation. And that's the key right there, is the documentation. Because how would we know what happened if no one documented history? If they didn't write scrolls and they didn't write these hieroglyphs on the wall, no one was smart enough to say, you know what, we need to write something down so that we can leave it for somebody else so that they can have some notes about what's going on. Nobody documents this stuff, then it didn't happen, right? Because who's relying on that memory? I'm quite sure there were a lot of people around who wish they would have left some type of legacy, but they're gone. Poof, done, existed, none. Who was that? Did they? And you want to make sure that that's not you. And the best way to do that is writing it down, documentation, making sure that you have some notes on what happened, what you did about it, how you were the first, how you started your business, some of the headaches that were involved. Because you want people to tell your story. And the only way people can tell your story is if they have some notes on it. So get cracking on that, man. Go down to, you can get a moleskin. Moleskin is one of the best ones. It's comfortable. It's got a little sleeve for a pen. It's got a little sleeve to carry notes just in case you're at a conference or anything like that. And you guys will be going to conferences. I'm speaking this stuff into you cats, man, because right now is the time that we can do a lot of internet searches because we're at the house. Some of us are. And from our truck driving cats, you guys at truck stops, look on there and start doing some Google searches, man. That's what your phone's for. Figure out what you can own. Figure out what you can do. The homie came up with an idea at a truck stop. It was love. You know, I don't know about the execution, trying to figure that out. That might be the hurdle, but it was a good ass idea. And that's what kind of ideas we need to be thinking of. What can we do now? What's next? Playing fields level. They're looking for black businesses to support. How can I get involved in this? What do I need to do? They just came up with a bunch of money for nonprofits. So if you got a nonprofit that's focusing on a specific area to help, they got money for you right now. They repurposing budgets. Police getting the budget snatched, they taking it to community services. So if you have an idea on something specific, like I just saw this brother just post something about mountain biking, taking kids up in the mountain and literally going mountain biking, which is lit, right? Who does that? These are things, and creating a business out of it, right? Or at least a nonprofit. where he can get some type of funding and still at least compensate his time. See, these is how we need to stretch our imagination. This is how we need to pivot properly, right? Pivot mentally or physically, doesn't matter, but pivot. Be okay with it. Be flexible. Be water. Don't be a board. Don't be hard, rigid plastic, because you'll snap and break. And that's the thing, man. Be bendable, right? Be flexible in that sense. It's okay, I can do this. It's okay, I can do this. It's okay, I can do this. And that's the key to life, right? Being able to be flexible enough to say, it's okay, I can do this. So when someone asks you, well, what if you have to do something else? It's okay, I can do this. It's okay, I can do this. Because my optimism level is so high that I'm looking for opportunities. Once I get down on myself and once I'm at the point where I'm tapping out, that's when I get myopic, right? My vision becomes ultimately super narrow and I can't see the opportunities because I'm so dead set on my missed opportunity that I can't see the other ones. In this book called what is it? I got it up there. The Art of Learning. It's back up there, The Art of Learning. He talks about making a mistake on the chessboard. And he said one of the biggest mistakes he's ever made, or one of the best learning lessons he's ever had, was that when he played a chess player and he made a mistake, he spent all his time trying to correct that mistake, as opposed to saying, you know what, I made a mistake, let me get on the offense over here, right? Because you can't make up something that's already happened in the past. It's a waste of time and effort and energy and all that. So what he learned was, when you make a mistake, don't focus time on trying to correct a mistake, but rather spend the time trying to develop a strategy to continue on, right? I'm just dropping some game, man. So I read a lot, man. I need some good books too. So I'm looking for some good book recommendations, man. If you guys have them, man, drop them in the comments down there. I certainly do appreciate that. Those who have been on here with me, those who have been rocking with me since day one, man, we are doing it on Drug Dealers to Businessmen podcast. I'm not quitting. Never in my conversation. I'll be doing that until the wheels fall off, till we get that 100 episodes, till we get that 1,000 episodes, and ultimately that 10,000 episode. So rock with me a little bit longer, you guys, man. Make sure you guys go leave a comment, take a listen to the new episode. Tell me whether you like it, you hate it, what I can improve on. And tap in with me next week as I will bring you guys more game as I learn it. That's it, man. Whatever I got, I'm giving you guys. God bless.